Okay? Now let's talk about humility. Just for a minute. Humility is the most beautiful Christian virtue there is. Everything flows through humility. It has to be chosen, it has to be seeded, and it has to be cultivated. It is choosing the mind of Christ in every situation. And your flesh will scream at you when you do. Of all the Christian virtues to be sought after, we should seek to be humble, meek, gentle, and lowly above all else, because that is the nature of Jesus. Usually people equate meekness with weakness. I've heard that said many times. And I've sought a definition on meekness or humility for 20 years. And this is what I've come up with. Strength under control. Because I've looked them up. I've looked it up in the Webster's, and I've looked it up. I mean, they say about being in submission and all this, and it is. But to be humble is to be bold. Who's turned the heaters off? Please make sure they're on for everyone. Please. Did we lose power or something? Yeah, make sure that's on. Okay. To be humble, listen, is yet to be bold. Why am I saying that? Well, a truly humble person is a bold one because they know they are nothing but everything in Christ. That's what they know. They know that of themselves, they're nothing. They can do great things, but only if God calls them to do it, and only if they stay under His leadership. Is that testimony ready? Yep. Okay, so I wanted to share a testimony. It's only short, it's 4 minutes, and because it was on the net and she spoke it, I love the show Fixer Upper. Who knows what I'm talking about? It's Chip and Joanna Gaines. Love it. And I've said to Nadia a few times, I'm sure they're Christian because they have a completely different perspective and view when they're ministering to others. They really want to bless the person. They try and find out the person's needs and fill their needs, not just do a great thing that looks fantastic and there you go. Do you know what I mean? So Nadia knows I really like Joanna Gaines, and she looked up her testimony. And I didn't know there was one. Silly me. And I asked David to find it. If you could just listen to that and play it now.
I remember as a little girl, my mom was Korean and my father was Caucasian, and I never knew there was anything different about myself until I started going to school. And I'll never forget an experience I had with the school lunchroom. You know, I remember standing there and seeing the sea of people, felt like all eyes were on me. And I was thinking, you know, who's going to be my friend? Who am I going to sit with? I started walking through that lunchroom, and then I remember darting straight out, and I found a bathroom, locked myself in a stall. But in those moments is when I really believe that that's where the lie was sown, that who I wasn't good enough. You know, as we all do, I grew up and I grew out of the insecurities, had great friends, great childhood. And I remember in those times, I heard him specifically say, you know, Joanna, I have a calling for you. You're going to have a platform one day. And I remember thinking, what does that even mean? And I remember hearing God say, Joanna, there's going to come a time where I'm going to say for you to go, and I'm going to need you to step out and go. After graduating college, you know, a couple years later, I end up meeting this handsome, rugged cowboy who was hilarious, Chip Gaines. And we got married, and he knew that I had this whole thing of businesses that I wanted to start, but he also knew I was never going to just take the risk and start them. I just dreamed about them. And he really encouraged me to step out and make one of those dreams happen. And we opened Magnolia Market together, and I loved it. You know, but at that time I was also pregnant with my second child, and I really felt like God was saying, hey, I want you home. I want you raising these babies at home at this age. And I remember the last day, we're closing the shop down, and I'm crying because, again, I feel like it's the end of a dream. And I hear God say very clearly, he said, Joanna, if you trust me with your dreams, I'm going to take Magnolia further than you could have ever dreamed. So just trust me. And I remember hearing that and feeling completely peaceful about it. And I walked away.
Okay.
Well, a couple years ago, we get this call from a production company, and they ask us to film a quick video of our family and what we do as a business, and that turned into the show that we have now. Chip and I laugh. We look back and we just go, how did this all happen? And I remember last year in January, Chip and I took a trip to Arizona, and we were driving around, and we found this really beautiful garden, and Chip said, I'm going to drop you off here. I'm going to give you about an hour, and I want you to kind of reflect on the year before, and then just let God speak to you about what this next year is going to look like. And he dropped me off, and I'm sitting under this tree, and I felt like God said, Joe, it's time. And I was like, time for what? And he said, it's time to reopen your store. And I said, I don't think I can do that. And just cool and calm, no, it's time. May of last year, we reopened the shop on Bosque, the little shop on Bosque. And now I look back and I go, God, your promise that you spoke years ago, I'm now seeing. I trusted you with my dream, and you've taken it far beyond what I could have ever dreamed or imagined. I can look back now in the pattern of my life and really believe God has a purpose for me, but he also has a purpose for you. And on the other side of that is the enemy, where he knows where to hit. He knows to hit below the belt. He's going to have that fear be, if you fail, and what if you fail in front of all these people? What if you fail and don't find someone in that lunchroom? What if your business fails? Whether it's you're staying home with your children and you're raising beautiful babies, or you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, let God speak into your life. Let his father heart come and say, this is what I have for you. And I think that's the key, not believing the lies, fixing our eyes on Jesus and walking in that truth.
Amen. So do you know who I mean? Joanna Gaines? So she's definitely Christian. I haven't confirmed if he is. Humble people leave home and say, I need you, God. And I love that testimony. I shared it because at every stage in her life, she submitted and waited on the Lord. They're worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. But they're so humble because they leave home and they say, I need you, God, and if you're not with me, I'm going to make a fool of myself. That's a humble person. Yeah? They say, help me. That the humble person says, help me 100 times or more a day, I'm sure. Because they can't do anything of themselves. Do you understand? Pride is the opposite of that. There is nothing in me. They know there is nothing good in them, no skill, no talent, no gift. There is nothing. I don't care how much education you've had, what you've studied, how good you are. I don't care if you're the top neurologist in the world or whatever. There's nothing in you good except Jesus. And they know that, if I touch something, it's going to be flesh. But if Jesus touches it through me, that's different. Then it's the Lord. Amen? It's life. So they that wait upon the Lord, they're pretty smart. Because we're not as smart as we think without God. We think we are. Satan wants you to think you're so clever. Okay?